Welcome back, dear students. I hope all of you have enjoyed the previous sessions in refrigeration and air conditioning. We have seen the various components in a vapor compression refrigeration system, namely compressors, condensers, expansion devices, and types of evaporators. So, in today's session, we are going to learn what is subcooling and superheating with respect to a vapor compression refrigeration cycle. Subcooling is the removal of heat from a liquid so that it will become compressed liquid. We have studied in thermodynamics in properties of pure substances. There are different regions: compressed liquid region, liquid vapor mixture region, then superheated vapor region, right? And there are saturated liquid as well as saturated vapor. So in that, subcooling is taking place when the heat is removed from a liquid. So from a vapor, when the heat thermal energy is removed, it will become a liquid by changing its phase, right? So that happens in a condenser. Further, the heat removal from the liquid takes place in condensers in actual cycle, that is called subcooling. I will make you more clear with the help of the pH chart. So it is the temperature of a liquid refrigerant below its saturation temperature at a particular pressure. So that is a subcooled temperature. Subcooled temperature is a temperature of a liquid refrigerant below its saturation temperature at a particular pressure. Below its saturation temperature. So for example, so at room temperature, you know that water is termed as subcooled. So that's what I was mentioning. So this we have studied in properties of pure substances and thermodynamics. So subcooling may take place in the heat exchangers, that is the condenser, or outside the heat exchanger before the entry to the expansion device. So in actual refrigeration systems, the temperature of the heat sink where the heat is rejected from the condenser. So that will be several degrees lower than the condensing temperature so that the heat will be transferred from the condenser to the heat sink. So heat sink maybe the surrounding air or some sometimes cooling water or cooling tower in large capacity refrigeration systems. Depends. So it is possible to cool the refrigerant liquid in the condenser. So the liquid refrigerant, after rejecting its heat, the refrigerant becomes liquid refrigerant. The vapor refrigerant becomes liquid refrigerant. And further, the liquid refrigerant at the exit of the condenser, further cooling of that liquid refrigerant is possible a few degrees lower than the condensing temperature by adding extra area for heat transfer. So you know that the heat transfer rate of heat transfer is proportional to surface area, right? Heat transfer by convection. So that is possible. The lowering of lowering of the temperature of the liquid refrigerant is possible by adding surface area of the heat exchanger, condenser heat exchanger. So in such a case, the exit condition of the condenser will be in the subcooled liquid region. So that process, lowering the temperature of a liquid refrigerant after condensation, is termed as subcooling. Now coming to the next term, superheat, degree of superheat. Number of degrees a vapor is above its saturation temperature at a particular pressure, that is degree of superheat. So you know that at saturated vapor condition, any pure substance is just about to condense. Any amount of removal of heat, even if a small amount of heat is removed from the saturated vapor condition of a pure substance, it will go back to its liquid state, right? Saturated liquid vapor mixture and further removal will bring it back to the liquid state. So if that point is crossed, that is saturated vapor point is crossed, it will become superheated. So continuous addition of heat after the saturated vapor region will makes a pure substance in the superheated condition. So the temperature of heat source will be a few degrees higher than the evaporator temperature. Hence, the vapor at the exit of the evaporator can be superheated by a few degrees, so that the entire refrigerant entering the compressor will be in the vapor form. So in order to ensure only the vapor refrigerant in the compressor, we are maintaining a constant degree of superheat. So this we have seen in the discussion on expansion devices, right? A particular type of expansion device is used, that is thermostatic expansion valve, so that a degree of superheat is always maintained. So this superheating of refrigerant, if it takes place due to the heat transfer with the refrigerated space, that is a low temperature heat source where the space to be cooled, then it is called as useful superheating, as it increases the refrigeration effect. So if additional amount of heat is removed from the space to be cooled, so that the saturated vapor refrigerant is superheated, so that is useful superheating. On the other hand, it is possible for the refrigerant vapor to become superheated by exchanging heat with the surroundings as it flows through the connecting pipelines between the evaporator and compressor. If that happens, if the superheating happens between the evaporator and compressor in the pipeline by exchanging heat, the refrigerant is exchanging heat with the surroundings. If that happens, that is useless superheating. That is not useful. It does not increase any refrigeration effect, right? So there are two kinds of superheating: useful superheating and useless superheating. So now another important term with respect to this superheating, degree of superheat, is superheat horn. Superheat horn. The increase in heat rejection rate of a vapor compression refrigeration system, VCR, vapor compression refrigeration system, compared to Carnot cycle is equal to the region known as superheat horn. There is an increase in heat rejection rate. I'll show you the TS diagram now. So it is formed due to the replacement of isothermal heat rejection process by isobaric heat rejection. So in a Carnot cycle, the heat rejection is taking place isothermally at constant temperature. But in vapor compression refrigeration cycle, that process is replaced by isobaric heat rejection at constant pressure. So you can see here a TS diagram. So 1 to 2 is the compression process, 2 to 3 is the heat rejection at constant pressure, 3 to 4 is isenthalpic pressure reduction, expansion, and 4 to 1 is again isobaric heat addition. So this blue colored horn, you can see a horn here. So this is a superheat horn. So this is the additional heat rejection rate in a vapor compression refrigeration cycle compared to a Carnot cycle. So this much amount more heat is rejected here. So in a Carnot cycle, this rectangle would be suffice for the TS diagram. This is a rectangular shape. For a Carnot cycle, the refrigeration cycle will be a rectangle shape, right? So there is an addition here, superheat horn, because of the superheating of the refrigerant at the exit of the evaporator. So this much more amount of heat is rejected in the condenser. That is superheated horn. Now let us see the effects of subcooling and superheating. Subcooling is beneficial as it increases the refrigeration effect by reducing the throttling loss. It reduces the throttling loss. Also, subcooling ensures that only liquid enters into the expansion device. So another third advantage is that there is less vapor at the inlet to the evaporator, which leads to lower pressure drop in the evaporator. So you can see here there is a subcooling. Ideally, at 3, condensation will stop, right? So further reduction of temperature in the liquid refrigerant, that is 3 to 3 dash, is termed as subcooling. So refrigeration effect is increased by, instead of 4 to 1, it is 4 dash to 1 now. The refrigeration effect is more heat is absorbed from the space to be cooled. Instead of 4 1, it is 4 dash to 1. So subcooling increases the refrigeration effect. Now the TS diagram for this superheat is shown here, as we have seen from the superheat horn. as well as the subcooling is also shown on a TS diagram. So 323 dash is the degree of subcooling, that is delta T subcooling is the temperature reduction due to subcooling. Okay, and the area of, I mean, the additional amount of heat absorbed from the space to be cooled is also shown with the hatch here. Now the effects of superheating. So useful superheating increases both the refrigeration effect as well as the work of compression. Both refrigeration effect as well as compression work are increased due to useful superheating. So primarily due to increase in specific volume of the refrigerant. Specific volume of the refrigerant increases due to superheating. Again, visualize that from the diagram. Hence, the COP may or may not increase because both the work of compression as well as refrigeration effect are increased. So COP may or may not increase depending on the relative values of increase. Even though useful superheating may or may not increase the COP of the system, a minimum amount of superheat is desirable as it prevents the entry of liquid droplets into the compressor. So in order to ensure only vapor refrigerant enters the compressor, a minimum degree of superheat is required. So you can see here. So refrigeration effect as well as the work of compression, both are increased. Okay, the area under 421 dash, if it is 1 dash, the area of area under the curve for 1 dash will be more compared to 41, right? Similarly, this much area will be added because of the superheat. So 1 to 2 is the actual case, 1 dash to 2 dash is the line or the curve on a pH diagram due to superheat. So you can see here. So refrigeration effect is increased by this crosshatch. Increase in work of compression is by this hatch. Actual refrigeration effect is only this area under 41. Okay, so additional refrigeration effect is increased, but at the same time the work of compression is also increased. So the relative values in the increase of these two will decide whether COP is increased or not. So on a pH chart, the superheated vapor region as well as subcooled region are shown. AX is the subcooling and CI is superheating here. You can see here. Okay, so both superheating as well as subcooling could be shown in the actual refrigeration cycle. In the ideal case, the refrigerant exits the evaporator in the saturated vapor and the liquid refrigerant exits from the condenser at saturated liquid at point A, ideally. But theoretically, these are the cases. Okay. I hope it is clear. If you have any questions, please revert using the comment section below. Or you can direct message me. Thank you for watching. With another interesting session, we will meet in the next class.